Welcome everyone to episode 3, season 6 of Kidlit International. On the panel I have with me today international award-winning authors and illustrators, Holly from Canada, Lauren from Brisbane, Australia, Karen from Sydney, Australia, Emma, our illustrator also from Brisbane. So welcome everyone. Today we are talking about something that I get asked a lot as a publisher, but I really don't know the answers because I'm a small publisher. I think the questions are more people are wanting to know for the big 5 publishers, and that is pitching to agents and publishers. So people want to know, I guess, do I need an agent? How do I pitch to an agent? Does an agent pitch to a publisher? Do I just pitch to a publisher? There's so many questions around it. So I thought let's chat about this. So, Lauren, we might start with you first. What's your experience with it?
My experience is sometimes I'm not the best vocal pitcher. So I know what it's like to be nervous, and I don't share this with a lot of people, but I actually, when I'm really tired or when I'm really stressed, I actually stutter. And sometimes I trip over my words. I can't get out my words, and it's just not my strong suit. However, I have found writing a pitch is a little bit more my strong suit, but also that hasn't stopped me from putting myself out there and doing it anyway. I have pitched to agents, publishers. I've actually pitched to a Hollywood producer, the producer of Paddington Bear last year in 2024. Very blunt experience. After trying to get all my words out, this person didn't have the time to me any further questions. She just said, your pitching ain't great. You need to work on that. But I think it's like anything where you've got to practice and you can't let it stop you. Is it the only way? I don't think so. I think if you're thinking pitching is the only way of getting yourself known, then you're limiting yourself something severely. There's lots of ways of getting yourself out there if verbal pitching isn't to you, or finding out how to get your story out there as well. Can I show you my screenplay pictures?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So usually typically start with just a 2-pager. Okay. In this, you've got a title, a log line, comparable films. You've got why this story now, a synopsis, and then a character breakdown. And if you send that out, generally that's what a film pitch will look like. My picture book pitches are very similar, but a little bit more colorful, a little bit more animated. And also it's comparing picture books to each other, not, but then you might get to send through then something like a little bit more in depth, like a pitch deck or something, if they request anything back. But I feel for everyone out there in the community, if pitching isn't your strong suit, it is something that you may want to either look at, write like a written pitch, if verbal isn't for you.
Mm. So I guess at the end of the day, you're saying just go for it yourself, whichever way you're comfortable with.
And networking as well, because I find once you have a relationship with either someone in the publishing community, whether it be an agent or a PR person, when you go to book launches, publishing people are about, once you start liaising, that original ice-breaking pitch isn't so hard.
True. Karen, you've done both traditional and self. You're familiar with the world of pitching. What's your experience?
I've done both verbal and written, but before you even pitch, you've got to know your publishing house, because there's no point pitching something they don't want. No matter how good your pitch is, they're just going to go, oh, switch off. So I got my contract with Wombat Books through a pitch. They were open for only, I don't know, a minimal amount, a couple of weeks, and I knew the story that I had matched the publishing house. The pitch was written, so you go online on their platform, and it was sort of like, yeah, nah, will I do this or won't I? You sort of, and I go, no, just back yourself. So I did it, and I just went on. It was just before closing. Just did and sent it. And then I thought, oh, I haven't heard anything back. And because you don't send the manuscript, you only pitch for them. And I'd even thought, oh, I must be rejected. I haven't heard anything. Surely the go through pitch is pretty quick. But as you know, Jennifer, a smaller publishing house, and you have like limited amount of time to actually go through. So when I did hear back, I was really surprised. I was asked for the manuscript, and then you have to back yourself further because you have to be able to do what they ask you to do if you want to get the manuscript over the line. It doesn't end with the pitching. You have to be able to give them more information about the story. And then I was asked to cut and edit. And because I was going overseas, I went, I've got to get this done and go. I can't ask anyone to help me. There's no one to help me. I have to do this myself. So instead of working myself up about it, I just said, just do it. And whatever the outcome is, the outcome is. And then when I was in Venice, I got a contract. So you need to know your publishing houses. And they have a list, the bigger ones, they have a list of what they're looking for. So no matter, you could have a fabulous pitch and a fabulous manuscript, but if they're not looking for that, they're just going to go, oh, great pitch, but no thanks. So you are also limited with opportunity that way. It's nothing to do with pitching, and you have to know where your writing fits. I'm more of a literary style writer, so there's certain publishers my writing just doesn't fit with, even if the story's great. But you just keep chugging along and you keep having a go. I have done a verbal one through ASA, I think. Yeah. And you have so many minutes and that's it. And you go in a waiting room and then you go on and you do the pitch, and you do that via your computer, not in person. I haven't done a pitching at a conference, but now at some conferences you can actually book a pitch session instead of a manuscript assessment and stand up and do the pitch. I think that would be the most terrifying type of pitch to do. Yeah. So that's how it goes. You've got a few avenues, but if I hadn't taken the chance and written that pitch at the last minute and just gone, just do it, don't overthink it, I wouldn't have got my contract. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah. Go for it without overthinking. Just do it. Know who you're pitching to. Yeah. Holly, have you ever pitched? Have you ever pitched to an agent or a publisher?
I have not. No, it's something that I'm sure that I will do at some point. It's interesting how our journeys are so different and what we're focusing on. And I guess for myself right now, it's been more like the type of story as well. Even within I've got a couple of drafts of children's books. Even within those, the one is very personal. So the emotion and the personal always, at this point, is always coming first for me. But I'm definitely open to pitching at some point. And I really look forward to when we have these conversations because we're always going to learn something. So that's
absolutely. In Australia, we don't have a lot of agents. They're almost like the big five. There's very few of them. Is it like that where you are? That you're aware of?
I'm not I don't know a lot about agents, to be honest. Yeah. I just haven't, you know how it is. Like, it's not something, like, I'm not looking for it,
Yeah, I was
I,
just curious.
yeah. But it's like, I find that, like, it's like anything else. When you're ready to find one, then it seems like all that information, it all just comes rushing into you, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Emma, as an illustrator, agents, publishers, have you had to pitch to them, look for them? Do they come to you? What happens?
Yeah, I definitely have. So they had to go at pitching in a few different ways. I have sent in like sort of a story synopsis with some art, and that pitch wasn't successful. But then I was asked to sample another project because they felt maybe my artwork would be more appropriate somewhere else. So sometimes that kind of happens. Like your original idea might not be picked up just yet, but you, as an artist, your skills might be applicable somewhere else. I recently, when I was going through my emails, looked at some of my early pitches when I was a baby artist, and oh my God. I think pitching is, and like as an illustrator, is something you learn, and your skill set and your portfolio are always growing. I think before I had a mismatch of styles. And now that I've had a bit more experience, I've worked with lots of lovely authors, different types of publishing houses. I definitely have more of a stronger sense of my identity as an illustrator. And I think that comes through my portfolio a lot more. And that's just something that happens with time. And you don't know what you don't know on this art journey. And I thought I got a good laugh looking back at some of those older emails. I was like, girl thought she knew what she was doing. But yeah, I think if you're pitching, it's good to sort of research the publishing house, have a strong portfolio that aligns with what that publishing house is looking for and the types of books they like to publish. If it's more like a humorous type of publishing house, or if they love something like lots of publishing houses might do more Australiana stories here in Australia. And it also is really useful to, if you can, it is a bit of an investment, but you can get your portfolios assessed. There's some brilliant assessments available from different amazing creatives in the field, and they can kind of give you an idea of where your portfolio, like what publishing houses your portfolio would suit. So if you need that little bit of guidance, some publishing houses offer assessments. And then there's also individuals. I did Margareta Lamont's, and that was brilliant. So there's lots of different assessments that can help too. And then also networking does come into it. I've pitched in person, which is intimidating, but it's a lot of fun because you sort of get to bring, your personality. And I think when you love what you do, that really comes across when you're talking about your projects. Yeah, so it's just trying everything, continuing to grow as an artist, putting yourself out there, being brave, doing your research, and not giving up, because if it's, if there's a will, there's a way. And if you just keep reaching out to your community, you'll sort of find your niche and where your journey, because everybody's journey is a little bit different.
Yeah.
You were right.
Lauren, for anyone who's out there deciding between an agent, pitching to an agent or pitching to a publisher, but for people like Holly who would like to know down the track, what's your words of advice? Last words of advice.
Well, I'd have to say my words of advice mirror what everyone else has kind of said. Definitely research your publishing house that you're looking at. I think network as well, because there are crux of a written pitch that you must have, right? You must have comparables, you must have a synopsis, you must have, there is a format. So if in your community, in your writers community, you can have a look at what other people are sending in, because there are certain points you do have to hit in your written pitch. Yeah. But I think what's been said, my final words of advice, is what everyone else has already said.
But also, Emma touched on a point that is exactly the same for a writer. and Holly sort of touched into it, you grow into it. You're completely different at the beginning of your writing career to as you're evolving as a writer, and obviously then your pitching becomes better, which is exactly what a lot of what Emma said resonates with writers as well.
Yeah, and that's true, Karen, because I first met you back in, was it 2018 or something?
Mm-hmm.
Seeing you as a person then to the person you are today,
Yeah.
the growth and how you've grown on your journey is just amazing, and what you learn along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important that when you're an artist, writer, or illustrator, you're comparing yourself not to the amazing highlight reels of your peers. Like, get excited and celebrate with them, but I know it can feel a little bit disheartening when everyone seems to be signing a contract. The person you should be comparing yourself to is the artist you were yesterday, or a few months ago, or a few years ago. And if you sort of, you know, yeah, like looking at your own growth and your own journey, you'll see how far you've come. It is a slower industry. It takes time to break into it. It takes time to find your strengths. And I think it's really important in between those moments to give yourself permission to create. Keep creating. You don't need the yes from an agent or a publisher to call yourself an author, to call yourself an illustrator. You can keep creating in between, because you just learn so much from the start of a project to the end of a project, even if it's just something you're doing at home. Like, the more sort of work you're producing, the more you're practicing your skills, and the more you're engaging with that craft you love so much, the more you're growing. And I think that that's really great. So always give yourself permission to create whilst you're waiting for the big tick box from an agent or a publishing house.
Yeah, I think one of the key things you said there, Emma, is giving yourself permission to keep creating. I know a person from going back quite a few years now who had their work critiqued by quite a prolific Australian author who told them their work was rubbish and not to pitch it anyway because, literally, because their work wasn't any good. She hasn't actually written since, because she has it in her head that nothing she will do is good enough for anyone to read, let alone pitch it to an agent or a publisher. And that's really sad.
Yeah.
So you just sitting there and saying, give yourself permission, regardless, is so important. And that's a true story. I'm still friends with her today, and she refuses. She dabbles and writes for herself, but no one sees it, and it's sad. And it's, give yourself permission, even if you're just shine in your own eyes. Start with that.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, I don't write for the publisher or the agent. I write for me and the story.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean everything you write is going to get published. It's impossible. You just create because that's what calls you. So you're driven by that. If you try and write for what you think somebody wants, it's not going to work, I don't think. It wouldn't work for me.
And I think, when you do pitch, whether you pitch to an agent or a publisher, they can see that energy within you because you are writing for yourself. They pick up on that.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really important to convey. And I think, Emma, you mentioned something like that too. Yeah, just write for you first. The rest will come. Yeah.
Yeah.
So any
And
final
remember,
last words from
behind
anyone?
I would have
I've
to
got
say,
one
don't.
more, and then I'll stop yapping.
No, you go, Emma. You go.
I was just going to say, behind everybody's shiny highlight reel, there's thousands of hours of mediocrity or dust or unfinished projects. Always remember that. There's a stack, mile high stack of those didn't quite make it top shelf projects.
Yeah.
Very common. Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's to do with time as well, because the universe puts ideas out and lots of us grab the same idea And you might have, I spent a year working on a story and then I went, oh, it's just been published and I'm ready to submit or pitch. So that's just how it rolls.
Yeah. Yeah. Lauren?
I'll just have to say, don't think pitching or traditional publishing is your only way as well, because if this kind of stuff isn't your strong suit, then why don't you submit to something like the school magazine, or why don't you, look for other opportunities to get your writing out there, build your confidence a little bit. Because I've been that person. I've been that person to have so many people tell me my stories are not for them. And so I kind of went the other way and found other ways of getting my writing out there. So if you feel like pitching is your only opportunity with a traditional publisher or an agent, that is the biggest load of what. You can get your writing out there so many different ways. And please do. I urge everyone, please do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are going to finish the conversation there. Lots of really good points. Write for you, be yourself, network, practice those pitches, suss out who you want to pitch to. Lots and lots of really good takeaways. So thank you everyone again for your wisdoms, your knowledge, and we'll see you all again next week.